Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another one of our In Conversation with broadcasts during this COVID pandemic, which we hope, as I mentioned last week, is coming to an end very shortly, but not immediately. And most of the travel industry have had a very tough time, as everybody knows. And so today I'm talking to a tour operator who has a slightly different look on life, slightly different aspects to the way they sell their products. And that's the Experience Travel Group, and I'm delighted to speak to Sam Clark, who is one of the founders of the business. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Graham.
Sam, tell me a little bit about the Experience Travel Group. I know you've got an interesting beginning. Just tell me.
Yeah, well, in the beginning, we were lucky enough, and there was two of us, and we were lucky enough to know Sri Lanka very well, and we felt that people tend to go to Sri Lanka sort of fell between two stools. They either went on a mad rush all around the island, see as much as possible with a package trip, or they might, with backpackers, and they tended to go to the same places on the beach and not really move. And we felt there's so much more to the country if you could just kind of slow down, take a breath, see what's going on, explore the different nooks and crannies. And we thought that would be a good idea to start a tour operator with that in mind. 15 years later, we're still here, but roughly that's the same. That's what we try and bring to all our destinations. Now we work in South and Southeast Asia, so all across the region. But it's still the same. It's about trying to get people under the skin of the destination, about trying to get people to smell the smells, taste the food, and find out what makes a place really tick.
Yeah, you use, I noticed on your website you use the word authentic quite a bit. It's an often used word in tourism. What's your definition of authentic, and how do you get that across to your clients?
Yeah, I don't actually like the word authentic because it is overused, and we slipped into using it, I think, on our website to try and mean that sense that you get integrated into the country to some degree. You're finding out, you're there as a tourist. You're there to have fun, but you're not just using the country. You're not just sort of taking the best bits and going. You're kind of really finding out what makes it tick, discovering the wildlife, discovering the culture, and connecting with people. So I guess that's I guess we would mean that kind of straightforward connection with people is the main thing about authenticity.
Yeah, a cultural exchange in effect. So you're going there and you're a guest in their country, and you're trying to find, almost be, again, often quoted, but live like a local for a couple of weeks, but have a good time while you're doing it.
Yeah, the cultural exchange. That's exactly well put. Yeah.
You can have that one for free. I'll give you that.
Thank you. Yeah, I've noted it down already.
Good man. Now, obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning, we've spoken about COVID, and that's obviously devastated. I'm sure your company has not done a lot of business in the last 12 months like any other. But do you now see, even though it might still be some time off, despite everybody thinking, right, come May the 17th, everybody's going to be flying and jetting off everywhere. I think it's probably going to be a little bit longer by the noises that we've heard. But do you think that later on that this gives you an opportunity in the market, given that you're pushing and always have done for this authentic experience, this cultural exchange, and that people coming out of COVID will demand more of that than necessary fly and flopping?
I think so. I hope so. I think that if as people have, we lost the chance to travel, and when you lose something, when it's it becomes more. You think about what you missed from it, and we've done quite a lot of research, partly with ATO and our travel association, and partly just speaking to our clients. We spent a lot of December and January just calling up our clients and saying, listen, what are you thinking about travel in the future? But in that survey, we could see overwhelmingly that people did want to travel, but they looked at what they'd missed really, And what they missed was those, the memories. Just going to a beach is great, and sitting on a beach, we all need to relax sometimes. But it tends not to be the moment that you remember. It's that, meeting someone, or that chance discovery, or that safari. Those are the things that you remember. And I think as we had time to reflect, those are the sort of experiences that people really, really missed and want to get back to as soon as they can.
Yeah, I mean, I often think, and I often explain it, it's almost like the return on investment you're not expecting from a holiday. You're expecting to sit on a beach, you're expecting exotic and different food, you're expecting different languages in many cases, but sometimes you get those chance encounters that you're not expecting, you're not necessarily planning, and that's the return you get, which is a good thing. But you've put a lot of, again, going back to your website and hearing you speak the other day, a good deal of emphasis on sustainability and cultural sustainability as well as climate and environment. Do you think you do a lot in your tour operation to support that?
I think we do. I think it's the way you approach it. It's who you're talking to. It's who you're meeting. It's where the money's going from. So if you're doing a trip where everything is controlled by the tour operator, then obviously there's some level that goes in through the hotel, and it goes in through experiences, but that a lot of that is taken out by the hotel operator and by the tour operator. The more money goes out to the whole population, so people do experiences along the way. They do, they might do village tours, they might do cooking experiences, whatever they are, that allows wider participation from the community, the better, because the more people enjoy seeing the tourists, because they're benefiting from the tourists, because they're meeting, we're having that sense of cultural exchange that we're talking about. And that's something we try and do. We try and use partners in country that are very well connected on the ground. We spend a lot of time training our guides. And the reason for that is that they're almost the guides can work as that conduit, that connection on the ground. They're the ones who can stop and help them make those serendipitous sort of discoveries along the way, whether it's tasting some food along the side, some fruit, or talking to people really, and they have to know how to do that. They have to be helped to do that, and I think we try really, really hard to get that kind of on the ground connection going in our holidays.
And do you think there's, again, speaking to a number of other people that have sustainability at the heart of their business, that the people are often draw, well, you are flying, that puts CO2 into, but obviously there are a number of communities, economies even, of a whole country that are dependent on tourism. One way around that, I suppose, is to fly less and stay longer. Have you noticed that in any of your forward bookings or any of your research?
We have seen a bit in our research, actually, quite interestingly, that people are saying they're going to spend longer, even spend longer in each destination when they're there, so they can really get, explore that particular area that they're going to, rather than necessarily rushing around. So I think that's one thing. We've got a few comments in our research that people said they might do less shorter trips as well, or less. It was what one person said something that really stuck with me, and they said they weren't going to go away for the sake of it anymore. They were going to be much more deliberative about what they did. So when they did go, they would go because they wanted to see something, because they wanted to do something. I think it's a difficult one with the carbon point. Obviously that's something that everyone needs to make their own mind up, and if you're going to make a decision to say, right, I'm never going to fly again because of carbon, then fine, that's your decision. I would say that there would be, we've got to understand that there would be huge implications of that on economies that are reliant on tourism, on wildlife that's reliant on tourism coming in. We've seen big problems throughout our destinations, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, some really severe economic hardship from tourists not being there. We've seen an increase in poaching in wildlife parks. And we've seen all kinds of problems from tourists not being able to come for so long. So there are always consequences.
Yeah, it's a very difficult one because obviously, as most people would acknowledge, we're facing a climate crisis, and any flying, any behaviour of that nature that puts additional CO2. But as you say, some people's livelihoods will and lives depend upon the income that foreign tourists bring. Given that background of hopefully we're all going to this new tourism world where Shangri-La, we're all holding hands and it's fantastic and everybody's happy. Are you thinking that this may be an opportunity to expand your portfolio? You've always been an Asian expert, but there are lots of other places in the world, I'm sure, that could do with a tour operator that deals in authentic experiences, if you forgive the terminology.
Well, we are looking to expand a little bit. We've got what we call a pioneer program running in Nepal now, which is where we actually get our guests, our previous customers, to try out some ideas and some tours, and we sort of work with them to improve them. It's not something that we would go into very lightly because it takes quite a lot of connections. It takes quite a lot to build up the kind of tourism that we do. It's not something you can switch on. We're not just sort of grabbing someone else's product and kind of white labeling it. It's thought through, and it makes a lot of difference. So we're as well to, there are other great companies in other places doing it. So we're happy to stick with our patch at the moment. But if we can inspire people to do their own travel, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in Europe, whether it's somewhere else, that's great as well. We don't just need everyone to go to Asia all the time. We just want them to think of us if they do want a really, fun, immersive trip in that area.
Good. Well, Dan, thank you very much for your time. I wish you the very, very best of luck in your endeavours in the future, in making sure that cultural exchange is at the top of your list, and I expect to see those changes on your website within the next couple of days. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Graham. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.